Hey everyone, Josie and Adam here again with View from the Bottom podcast. We are with Rock Bottom Hope, a ministry that likes to serve people who have hit rock bottom or parents who are also uh, working with their kids who are at a rock bottom and just really trying to find help in those spaces. Last time we were here in our episode 0, because it wasn't official yet, we had kind of talked a little bit about Adam, and he started kind of getting into his story. So I wanted to dig in, Adam. You've mentioned a few things about just your a little bit. I remember something about homelessness or anything of that sort. I guess I want to give you the free reins to kind of tell your story and let everyone else know like what brought you to rock bottom, and how rock bottom help has really just worked in your life too.
Well, thank you. That was all right, we'll just get right into it.
Yeah, we're doing that.
Where I even start? I think if you go all the way back, had a pretty normal childhood, like great parents, great family, just everything just kind of lined up. But I don't know where I started steering away. I think I was probably left with too much freedom. Dad worked a lot. Mom was great. But in that, I was one of those children that I really needed that dedicated time. Like you got to sit down and talk to this kid. Like, and I see with other kids too. There are some kids that, you can kind of leave them to their own device. I have a nephew that, I mean, when he's alone, he's building things, he's productive. You know what I mean? But I was not that. I was chaotic. I was trying to test things. And in that, I would ask questions. Ooh, I'm gonna get personal. Mm, Whatever. I love my family, but I learned early on that when I would ask and probe these questions, like it was I didn't come from a very let's talk about our feelings kind of family. It was like it's more of a hey, let's repress that, and if it comes out in 10 years, we'll deal with it later. But
Mhm.
for now, let's just hold it all in. So a lot of the questions I had about life, I internalized or I figured it out on my own. Not with God, not with wise counseling or anything. Like I did whatever it was that I learned it in the most foolish way possible. That was just kind of my MO for the vast majority of my life. So I guess it started with, when I was younger, I was, just normal drugs, smoking weed with friends, and that was really my favorite drug. Like alcohol, I would drink and do all that kind of stuff. But that was more like the social. If everybody else was drinking, then I would drink, and I would do it in excess. So there was no healthy amount of drinking for me. But I never woke up the next day and struggled with it. Right. I was
Mm,
like, okay, now with weed, I could do that all day.
mm.
Right. And it took away my anxiety. It took away, it made Bluebell ice cream, which is my favorite, so much better. There is nothing like this is not a pro drug podcast, but
Yeah.
it is
Don't
like
smoke
just
weed.
being
Don't do
100%
it.
honest, like Bluebell ice cream was delicious. But it'll tear your life up.
Vanilla bean,
I'll
to be
keep
exact.
listening to the story and it's like it was the Bluebell worth it? It wasn't. But well maybe. But anyway. So I kept going, right? And like I noticed that all the other kids, like, if you fast forward into high school, like, all the other kids just seem to have it all figured out. They're like, "Oh, I'm going to college to be a doctor, and I'm going to do this," and, everybody seemed to have it made, like, "Oh, I got scholarships," and I was just like, "I'm alone. I have no idea what I'm doing." So I think I hinted at one point to, my family, like, "I think I'm gonna join the military," and, like, my mom was like, "No." Like, "Not gonna happen." And I was like, "Well, they've taken care of me this whole time. I don't know how to go against that." Um, so anyways, I went to college and once again, I was just taking my basic courses, no idea what I was doing. I think my first major was psychology, and
Mm.
it's like 50% of kids that go into college, they're like, "I'm a psychology major because I like thinking."
Big facts.
Yeah, it's like and then, like, by their 2nd year, it's like 1% of those people are like, "Yeah, I don't wanna do that the rest of my life." But anyways, so I was one of those people. So just really doing my undergrad stuff, and eventually ended up transferring over into business. And business was so that was about my 3rd year. Business was about I was sitting through some of the classes, I was like, "I can't do this." Like, and at this point, like, I don't think I had any major issues. I was partying and doing the rest of the stuff. Well, so I guess I did have major issues, but I was still functioning, right?
Right.
There was no hindrance to my life. At this point, I had no God in my life. I had no Jesus. I had no nothing. But I did have a couple friends, but I was always kind of a loner anyways. Just really wasn't developing myself. And so finally, I don't remember what the breaking point was, but finally I ended up talking to my family. It was about my third year in college. I was like, I'm joining the military.
Yeah.
And, like, once again, mom was like, "Not happening," and, my dad was just like, "Well, if that's what you're gonna do." So, I actually went against my mom on this one. I was like, "Nah, it's happening."
And how old were you then?
I was 21 or 22.
Oh, okay.
So, it was later, a lot of people join when they're 18.
Yeah.
I was 21 or 22, um, and I just did it. And then, of course, like, it's funny how moms will change because, like, the day that I graduated basic, she was, like, one of those stereotypical, like, wears the shirt, like, "My son's in the military," you know what I mean? Like, it's I'm so proud of him, like, calling all of her friends is like, okay. But, anyways, she probably saw a change in me. That's probably what it was, which there was a little bit of change. There was things that the military couldn't break me on. I remember, the last day, like, our drill instructors were, like, real strict, like, we had to do this massive run in front of all the families, and so, like, all your families are lined up, and they get to see their boys or girls for the first time, and they're like, "Do not look at them. If you look at them, we will destroy you." Like, they're just threatening the whole time, but, I mean, at this point, we're kinda used to it, like, it's been quite a few weeks of them already, like, doing it, but so it's, like, the last day of, like, school, you're like, "I can probably get away with a little bit." So we're on this run, and, like, my mom, she's just looking, and we're all, shaved head, it's hard to tell who's who, um, and she goes, "And then I saw you. You saw us, and you just the only one in formation running goes, just ran by, waved my hand." She's
Adam the
like
rebel.
like, I'm sure she was probably like, "Nothing changed." Like, he's still like, they couldn't break him, like, and she was right, they couldn't break me, but, I just learned how to put on that face. But anyways, it was an awesome experience, and so, long story short, the military was, like, perfect for someone like me because it was like, you don't have to think, just do what they tell you, like, and if you're like, "Okay, go," and things don't get to me like, "Oh, you have no AC," or "You have to go stay on this field and be nasty," all like, I was like, "This is great," it was just like I really enjoyed it. I love the atmosphere, like, you didn't have to worry about how people felt because 'cause they'll curse you out, like, they'll just yell at you, and it's like, "Okay, that person's mad, so what do I do to fix this?" It was very simple. So, into my story, though, so I did that, I did active duty for 6 years, and then I ended in Korea, and so at the end of that, I was like, "You know what?" I built this, like, confidence. I was I could do anything. I really I felt like I was succeeding in the military, um, and then end of Korea, I was like, "Okay, what do I do?" Like, I'm done with my 6 years, so where do I go? And I was like, "Oh, I'll just go and be a doctor." That sounds easy enough. Like, this is literally how my mind was thinking, like, I'm gonna move to Oklahoma, and, I'm just gonna get into the doctor's program, and, like, life is gonna be easy. I'll just be a doctor, and we'll see how it goes, which I know where my mind was at, and it was just because I still had this, like, caring heart, and I really wanted a career that I could care for people, and I was like, "Well, let's go to the top level of caring people," and
Right.
that in my opinion, that's where it was at, right? Um, so I get there, and I meet with some advisors at OU, and they're like, "Yeah, yeah, we could probably get you into the program. We're going to, scrub all your, education because my first couple of years, I didn't do that well. I didn't try very hard, so I don't
Right.
think it's not like I was failing in college, but I wasn't doing hot. And so to get into their program, they had to have you're against some strict competition, right? So they told me, "What we'll do is we'll wipe it all clean, and you'll just start as a freshman in college." And to me, I was like, "I'm 28," I was like, or whatever, 27, 28. I was like, "That's ridiculous. Like, I can't do that. I'm an old man at this point." Like, now looking back in hindsight, I'm like, "Oh, I was so young," but oh well. Um, so that was a deterrent for me. I was like, "I'm not gonna do another 7 years of college."
Oh.
Um, so I was like, "Okay, so now what do I do?" Like, that was I didn't have a plan B. Um, oh, that's interesting. That's what I was going over. Anyways, um, so long story short, I ended up transferring over to OCCC, which is a feeder school. It's a community college, Oklahoma, whatever, Oklahoma City Community College. And so I was like, "Okay, I'll work on, nursing. I'll get into they have a decent nursing program, and I'll do that." And at this point, like, so that was my first failure that I had ever, like, really internalized, like, "Oh, no, I'm not as hot as I think I am." Because in the military, like, I I was unstoppable, but now I'm in the civilian world and they're rejecting me. And
Mm,
I was like, "Oh, this sucks." And I was
yeah.
like, "Well, I'll just go one step down, nursing." No offense to any nurses or anything out there listening, but, like, it's like one step down from doctorates. Um, and so I started looking at that and they needed me to take a couple of courses. So in the meantime, I was like, "Okay, I don't have a job," and I was planning on doing the GI Bill, but somebody had talked to me about joining the Guard. And I was like, "Okay." And they had a pretty good sales point. They're like, "It's just 2 days a month." And I was like, "Oh, this is the easiest thing in the world." Little did I know, like, my heart was still in the military. I hadn't really gotten out. And so, um, I took over or I started working with one of the shops, and they really needed me for the position that I was working in. And they're not used to active duty people going to the Guard because Guard is very lax compared
Mhm.
to the active duty side. So they really they loved it. Like that I already had all my paperwork and this, that, and the other, so they didn't have to retrain me, like, they could just throw me in there and it was good
Right.
to go. Um, but and I was doing well, but those 2 days a month end up turning to, like, 4 days a week, and turns into, like, oh, I'm now, like, pretty much full-time working in the Guard. And then so, some of my schooling started getting pushed back. I was like, "Oh, I'll do it next semester, or I'll do it," it just kept getting pushed away. Meantime, I hadn't done drugs or, I'd pretty much quit drinking at this point. I was just never a big drinker anyways. But then I started living with someone, who smoked, and so, I'm like, "Well," I started doing the math. I was like, "Okay, they're not gonna drug test me here, so I can basically smoke, the 1st week of the month, and then the 2nd, start cleaning up by the 3rd. If they did drug test me, I'll be good." Well, then that turns into, well, I can smoke the first 2 weeks, and then 1 week of detox, and then I'll be good. And then it turned into like, well, like 48 hours, I can probably get by, and what's the odds that they're gonna drug test me? And this went on for quite a while, so I did it for 3 or 4 years, um, and then, uh, I started going, okay, nursing wasn't working out, and a lot of my family were talking about, "Hey, you should probably look into the fire department, like, that is your niche." And I had 2 family members, prominent family members, that had already gone that path. Um, both actually passed away, so I was like, I don't wanna, like, look like I'm following their path. Like, I wanna do my own thing. There's a lot of pride involved in that. So the more I thought about it, though, I was like, "Okay, maybe I should do this. Maybe I could." It seems like a challenging thing to do. So I did. So I applied down here in Texas, to Teaks, which is honestly, they say it's the number 1, fire academy
Mm.
in the nation, and I give it to them. Like, out of everything in the military that I ever did, Teaks was harder.
Where's that
Uh,
one located?
it's at A&M.
A&M?
It's a feeder into
Okay,
A&M.
okay.
Like, it's an offset. I don't know how to describe it, but,
Yeah.
anyways, uh, it was rough. Like, it was like, by the time I got there, like, no joke, the first day they told us all to stand up, and, like, some of these kids have no idea what they're walking into. These instructors come in and they just start screaming at them, and I was like, "Oh, I'm back in the military." Like, I literally was like, "What did I do?" That
You're home.
I did not learn my lesson. Like, so anyways, I went through it. I graduated, I did great. Um in this process, so I was still in the Guard. In this process, I was transferring from the job that I had in the Guard into a fire department job in the Guard. And everything was working out. But in that, what you'll notice is, like, I lost all the strong connections I had because I had one job and now I'm going to a completely different job. So it's all new people. So I didn't have any good connections. Um, so I get over there and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna drug test you real quick," and I knew. Like, I was like, "Oh, no." Like, I knew I had smoked, like, the day before or 2 days
Mm.
before, and so, like, I just ignored it, like, "Yeah, well, we'll see what happens," not thinking of what a big deal it was. So, anyways, so I pee and, nobody says anything, and,
Mm.
now I go home and I still in the academy, or I just finished and I was going into EMS, or EMT classes and everything. And nobody had contacted me. So I was like, I passed. I don't know how I passed, but this is great. But little do they know, like, I didn't pass. They were just waiting for me to drive back up there to like inform me, like, you are no longer, excuse me, you are no longer with us.
Ew.
And it hit me hard. I put on a good face. Well, I think I put on a good face, but afterwards, I won't name him, but he was my boss at the time. He's the one that actually got me the job. He came in. He came to the hotel I was at, because we used to stay at hotels when I was up there.
Mhm.
Um, and I broke down. Like like while I was there, I looked like, man, this sucks, but like I understand. Like, but deep down, I was holding it all in, like just putting
Yeah,
on a good face. And he was
that's
like,
tough.
"It's gonna be okay," and I crumbled, and I was
Yeah.
like, "It's not gonna be okay." Like, it's not like now a fire department's not even gonna hire me because I just got kicked out of the military. Like, why would they hire me? And he's like, "Let me see if I can get you a job, down there in Houston. I know a guy." And sure enough, he did. Like, this I wanna say his name just to make it public of how great of a guy he was, but at the same time, you know how it is.
Yeah.
Um, but anyways, he was an awesome guy. He ended up getting me a job. It was a great job. Once again, I started going like, maybe there is a Jesus. Maybe I need to figure out who he is. But I still wasn't giving him any kind of shot. So I started taking my Bible to work at the fire department. Um, and all I had to do, the requirements for me getting a job there, permanent job there, was I had to finish my EMS. I had to do my national registry. That's all I had to do.
Right.
So long story short, so I'm bringing my Bible to work, and like I loved it. It was the greatest job, honestly. Great guys that worked there. And I there was something deep inside me that was just breaking down. Um, I didn't have the guts to take the test.
Mm.
Um, it sucks. But so anyways, a year goes by. Um and doing great. All the people, I believe they really enjoyed me working there. Like I had a done deal. I just had to do this test and didn't do it. So that I once again, the guy that got me the job, I had to call him and like, hey, I messed up. Like I didn't do the test. So they ended up letting me go from the fire department, and that's where my rock bottom started to hit, because that was my plan B, C. It was everything. And so none of this, I hadn't told my family any of this at the time. So now I'm moved in with my family. So I'm living with my mom and dad. So that alone can bring some dark times, like when you're a grown man or woman and you're like, I'm now back to being dependent on them. So the drugs started hitting really hard at that point. I started lying to them, saying, I'm going up to drill. When in reality I would just drive, a couple miles down the road to a Walmart parking lot and just stay high for a couple of days. I just sleep in my car, just stay there. Um, all because I could not face the shame, that I had, been going through, and the guilt for sure.
Yeah.
Um, and I just kept thinking to myself, like, I'm gonna get out of this. Like, I'm gonna figure it out. And then, and they saw signs like this caused massive fights. And since I would never open up to them, like going back to the original part of this story, like I didn't know how to open up to people, and especially not my family. Like, we were not an open family where I could address this. We are now, at least from me, it's like, "Hey, I have to unload. This is gonna be tough."
Yeah.
Um, it wasn't tough with my dad. I think it was tougher on my mom, just because she takes it to heart. Like, if I say I messed up, then she messed up. It's like,
Yeah.
it has nothing to do with you. You guys raised me right. I just went my own way."
Mm.
Um so anyways, this went on for a couple of years, like, of me just doing that. So I had no idea how I was gonna get out of it. I knew I wasn't seeking the Lord. I know that. I knew I was just staying high and doing all that kind of stuff. Just whatever could keep my mind off the reality of what happened.
Right.
Um, so where we at? Um, I was Ubering for some extra cash, probably just to buy drugs. But in that, I didn't have anybody with me at the time, but I was driving either to pick someone up, or I was just driving back from dropping someone off, or whatever the case was, and a song came over the radio in my car, and it was a song, really famous Christian song called "Reckless Love," and
Good song.
the thing that blows my mind about it is I never listened to Christian music. So I was always into the heavy metal, like hard rock or even rap or anything, but never Christian music. You couldn't get it on my radio because it was playing from my phone anyways. But this song came on, and like I say to me, I say like God spoke to me through that song. It was almost truly like the word of God came through this song. And anybody else could listen to the song right now and be like, "Nah, just sounds like a normal song," but that's not what I felt in that moment. It came across very different. Um, so where I used to pride myself in, like, I never cried, except for that one time where I broke down, like, other than that, it had probably been 10 years since I'd cried. If you don't count that one time where I finally broke down,
Yeah.
I was hard. My heart was hardened to, like, just anything, like, I had people pass away, and I didn't shed a tear. Like, and it's not that I didn't care about them, it's not that it didn't hurt my feelings, it was just my heart was just cement, because I wouldn't allow any kind of emotions in. So anyways, I back to the story. So the song goes through and, I just pulled over and I just wept, and I was like, "God, that I get
Mm.
it. I get it. You're real, like, but
Yeah.
I don't believe in you." Like, and I'm actually having this conversation, and I was sober. I always have to mention that 'cause my people are like, "He was probably on some really strong drugs at that time." I was like, "Nope, I was actually sober." Um, but I knew God was speaking to me, and I was just calling out to him. I was like, "Alright, God, I'll make a deal with you. I'll go to church, and if you're real, I need you to show up." Like, and it was more like a, "I don't believe in you." There's a verse in the Bible that says, "Lord, I believe, but help my unbelief." And I mean, I didn't know that at the time, but that's truly what I was praying for. I was like, "God, I believe you're real, kinda, but, like, I don't have any experiences with you other than the thing," which I do now looking back on it, I have so many amazing stories that of, like, where but I couldn't recognize him at that time. Um and so I was like, "Alright, I'm gonna go to church." And little did I know my parents had this awesome community group and they were praying for me for years. Like, they everybody, even myself, I just was in denial. Everybody knew how bad I was, but nobody could talk to me about it. Nobody confronted it, and if they did, I would cause a massive fight. Like, I would rage on people.
Right.
Um in particular, my mom and dad, like, I would just, because I knew my unfortunately, this is the catch-22 of it. My dad hates confrontation. So and I don't think I, like, actually thought about that, but I knew, like, if I blew up, he would just like, you know what I mean? He would step away from it. So, like, that was I can end this,
Yeah.
like, and I can go back to my safe place where I, like, play my video games all day long or hide away. Um so, sorry, shout out dad, sorry about that. So I'm getting off track. Where was that?
So you're living with your parents, going to church,
Oh, I gotcha.
asking God to
So
show up.
so that I equate it to there's a song called, like, "Somebody Prayed" or something to do to that effect.
Mhm.
That community group was the only people that knew me at the time. I had no friends except for my drug dealer, and I don't think she was praying for me, to be honest, you know what I mean?
I don't
But,
see her
like, this
praying.
she wasn't, but, I love her. But, anyways, this community group, excuse me, really hunkered down and prayed for me for years,
Yeah.
and God answered their prayer.
Praise
Like,
God.
I wasn't praying for it, like, but he came through in this song, and so I went to church, and there was a mind-blowing sermon that was just specifically dedicated for me.
Yeah.
Like, and I tell people all the time, like, I don't remember what the sermon was about. I don't even remember who said it, but I remember this overwhelming feeling that the Lord was there and he was speaking to me. Um, yeah, I ain't crying on podcast. But like I remember that was a major thing.
It's
I go,
okay to cry,
and
Adam.
no, it's not. Hold it in.
Don't hold it in.
Uh, but it was overwhelming to the fact that, to the point where I was like, all right, I don't want to fight anymore. And that's truly when my life turned around. That's truly when I was like, I don't even know where to go. I keep hitting these keys. Um, I
Sound
did
effects. It's for sound effects.
right, making points.
That's right.
But so I had an awesome church. Got really involved. You know, it took time, but like I made it a point. Like I went every Sunday at that point, and I was
Yeah.
just learning, and I was really in the Bible. I was really like, and I had this point where like I didn't want somebody else's translation or interpretation of the Bible to dissuade me from the truth. I was like, I'm just gonna get it straight from the source.
Right.
I don't want anybody twisting it or anything like that. I've calmed down on that. I listen to awesome people, and I've learned that, we all have the Holy Spirit inside of us, and we can discern what is truth and what is not. But it better line up with the Bible. Otherwise, you might wanna, reach out to God and really figure that out. But in this, I just kept going, and I heard somebody speak about it yesterday. Like, I didn't recognize how much I was changing, but I was just drastically changing. My heart was changing. Now it was very, very simple for me to cry. It was very, and not like I was just crying because, like, you know, it's all. It wasn't meaningless stuff. It was an emotional thing. I
Yeah.
that hardened heart that I had, like, I could actually feel things again, and it was great. Like, and I didn't even know I needed it. It was just not something that was on my radar till, like, I actually got it.
Right.
And I've told you before, like, I prayed 2 prayers,
Yeah.
that day in my car, and I was like, "God, I don't have any joy. If you're real, I need joy back." And the second one was, I'm alone. Like, I'm utterly alone other than, like I said, my drug dealer, and, I was like, "I need people."
Yeah.
And, those were the 2 prayers that I prayed for, and man, he just gave it to me tenfold.
Yeah.
Because I just have I don't I'm not gonna anyways, there were awesome programs that he led me into that gave me that community, and it was an awesome community of Christians where we can just open up and share and talk
Right.
about it. Um, I don't know if this is where I ended up meeting Danny. I met Danny somewhere in this process, from Rock Bottom Hope, but I Danny even said to me, like, "Man, like, we would have loved to have had you in Rock Bottom," and I just didn't know about Rock Bottom.
Mhm.
Um, I say that, he might have been one of the people that introduced me to Regen. He might have been one of those people. I'd have to ask him, but, Rock Bottom Hope, I wish I had known about it at that point.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can go more into detail about what I'm doing now, but, like, that was where my rock bottom, and there's a lot more. I'm not gonna talk the whole time, but, like,
You kind of
those
already did.
yeah, I know,
No,
I
that's
talked all
okay. That's
yeah,
that's the whole point. Like, we wanna know your story, we wanna hear it, the
yeah,
raw, the real, the good stuff, you know?
yeah,
All the tea, as the kids say these days. I don't know
yeah.
why they use tea, though.
I
Tea.
don't is
I
that
just
really a thing?
yeah, it was like they spilled the tea. Yeah, I'm like, "What why tea? Of all the things that there's not a lot of substance in tea."
Caffeine?
Well, there's
Am I
caffeine.
making I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's a kid thing. Don't even worry about it. Unless you're in student ministry, like, it's gonna go over your head. When I first heard it, I was like I was literally looking for spilt tea. I was like, "Oh my god, they spilled the tea. Like, where is it?" You know, I gotta pick it
Made me
up, but
feel uncool. But anyways, yeah, so, just I guess just to wrap it up, like, um, programs like Rock Bottom Hope are just tools that the Lord uses to
Right,
call on people. So
right,
I don't know. I have a weird feeling about these podcasts or about, this, that, the other, but, like, truly the Lord will call you in random ways, and he'll do it in a unique way just for you. So,
mm,
uh, that's my hope for this whole podcast is, like,
yeah,
even if it reaches one person that they're like, "Oh, man, God might be real," or I might test what happened to Adam. I'm not saying, you can do exactly what I did and but if you have a feeling the Lord is calling you, he's calling you.
right,
Like, and you just keep diving into it. Get into the word, get into that. Call Rock Bottom Hope. Start there. Start somewhere.
right.
But you got to start.
It's true.
Um,
It's true. I know a lot of people, they get, and I mentioned this last time, but they get this sense of like feeling of like guilt and shame and just all the things from feeling like, oh my God, I had to call this place for help. And it's like, no, that's a really good, bold, courageous thing to do. Like to step out and say, hey, I need help. Because it gets really lonely. It gets really lonely there. And you get to a point where you really do feel like I don't have anyone. And no one could ever know what this feels like or understand it. But, you call even like the Hope line and you've got someone who's also been at rock bottom. Like literally every person at Rock Bottom Hope has hit a rock bottom. And we're here to just love on you, walk with you, pray with you, just be a part of bringing joy and hope back into your life. And I think that's the biggest part about Rock Bottom Hope and the point and hope for this podcast is to bring hope
mm,
to the city of Houston.
mm, we done.
Oh, weird.
Perfect. That was perfect timing.
Okay.
That was that it?
Yeah,
Oh,
that was it.